Okay, so yeah, I'm going to be talking about Solo, a Star Wars story, pretty quick here, but guess not too long after I sat down in the theater, I found out about the Total Biscuit, John Bain, losing his battle with cancer, and I didn't watch a lot of Total Biscuit videos. I only watched a few of them, and because of the length, sometimes it's just you see a video that's an hour long, and it's like, I just don't feel like watching that right now. But I always thought he was very good at articulating his point, and cancer sucks. So obviously the sympathies go out to his family. But anyway, getting on to Solo, a Star Wars story now. Yeah, early on, there's not a text scroll in the strictest sense of the term, but it does begin with a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and then it just continues like that in these flat kind of little bits at the beginning. It talks about how the planet Corellia is mined for, I think it's Caraxia, which is a hyperfuel, and it's all of the crime syndicates and also the burgeoning empire are fighting over it. And it's into this that we find Solo. He broke up a deal from a mob figure named, it was a Proximal. It was a giant centipede. He broke up some sort of deal, stole some of the hyperfuel and a land speeder. And he's doing this to try to get passage for him and his girlfriend Kira off of Corellia. And they kind of get found out, and they get on the run in the land speeder. And there's this one point as they're chasing through, he tries to get through this very narrow pass by turning the land speeder onto its side, and it gets stuck. So they have to get out and try to get away on foot, and they almost do. Unfortunately, they wind up getting separated. And as Han is trying to stow away on this vessel, he sees an ad, basically a big line to sign up for the Empire, or for the Imperial Forces. He signs on, he tries to join the Imperial Naval Academy to be a pilot. We then jump ahead 3 years, and he's in the infantry because he washed out of the pilot academy because he's not good at taking orders. It's then that he happens across, I think it was Captain Beckett, and in the midst of this, he discovers that Beckett is not actually a captain. He's a thief. It's Woody Harrelson's character. Like I said, he's a thief, and he had basically commandeered a dead officer's suit, and he's leading this little group because they're trying to steal some things, and they need to steal a craft in order to pull off another bigger heist. And he eventually works his way onto them, but Beckett betrays him early on. Han gets thrown into a pit, and it's there that he meets Chewbacca. Chewbacca was is just referred to as the Beast, and he was basically Solo was trying to be sacrificed to him. And in the midst of this, it's revealed that Han speaks Wookiee, and that's how he gets to form an alliance with Chewbacca. And the two work together to escape, and they track down Beckett and his crew. Beckett's actually impressed, so he brings them on board. They then travel to another Imperial planet where they're mining more the hyperfuel, and they're going to steal enough to, basically appease a member of the Crimson Dawn crime syndicate named Drayden Voss. He's played by Paul Bettany. And basically this is the whole scene you see on the Sky Tram where they're robbing the big train. Unfortunately, they get interrupted by this group of marauding space pirates who are also trying to steal the hyperfuel, and it goes wrong, and the only survivors left are Beckett, Chewie, and Han. Then they go back to Drayden Voss, and Han discovers that Kira, his girlfriend, played by Emily Clark, is working with Crimson Dawn. Yeah. And sort of is working as sort of the chief lieutenant to Drayton Voss, and basically Beckett promises to make things even and get the right amount of the hyperfuel needed for this deal to go through, and the only way to get that is to go to the spice mines of Kessel and mine unrefined, get the unrefined hyperfuel, and then take it to this planet Sabrine, where there's a refinery that does not fall under Imperial jurisdiction. And to need that, they're going to need a ship. And Kira knows just who to go to, and this is where Lando enters the picture. Solo challenges Lando to a game of sabacc because Lando is retired from being a smuggler and wants to be a professional sabacc player. The two face off. They're both going pretty even, but as Han is basically playing naive fool, he's hustling him. But Lando hustles him back. He has the sliding device, the cards up his sleeve, and this is probably where it's going to cheese a lot of the diehard Star Wars fans off, because originally, sabacc was not a card game; it was a dice game. It was like craps. Han has his lucky dice that he hung from the basically on the dashboard of the Millennium Falcon, and it's believed that he used loaded dice to swindle the Falcon from Lando, which we'll get to. It does not happen here. But no, sabacc is actually a card game in this case. But eventually, Kira reveals her and convinces Lando to come along. And Lando has a navigational droid named L3, who is also like a droid's rights activist. And she has to come along because they need to navigate through the maelstrom that basically is in the way of the planet Kessel. They go to Kessel. They use Han and Chewie as sort of undercover slaves. As this is happening, they begin to plot their moves. L3 frees a droid and tells the droid to go free the other droids, and it starts a droid revolt. Along the way, Chewie discovers some Wookiee slaves that might possibly be his family. I think it's alluded to. They don't mention it out of the box. And frees them. They also start an uprising, and this sort of complicates the stealing of the unrefined hyperfuel. And then they get it out. Unfortunately, L3 is destroyed, and they start to enter the Kessel Run. Unfortunately, they've caused such a commotion that now the Empire has put a Star Destroyer right in their path, and they have to take an alternate path. However, they manage to download L3's brain into the navigational computer for the Falcon. They also put a drop of the hyperfuel into the fusion reactor, which gives it enough boost to navigate through the Kessel Run in the less than 12 parsecs. Though Han later admits that he rounded down, so that might not be entirely the case. And they get to Sabrine, and obviously this is where the pirates are actually tracking them the whole time, and they sort of reveal, like, yeah, look, we're all actually members of planets that got attacked by Crimson Dawn because they wouldn't play ball. Exactly. They're going to use this to harm more people. It's not going to work. And this basically strikes Solo's conscience. He starts to set up a plan he tries to convince Beckett to join him in a kind of plan to trick Drayton Voss, but it doesn't really work. Beckett says, no, that's not going to work. Look, I'm going to go to Tatooine. There's this gangster there who's assembling a smuggler crew. We could probably do pretty good down there. And he sort of leaves. And it turns out, of course, Beckett sells them out because they're trying to use fake hyperfuel to throw them off. However, it turns out that Han was double-crossing Beckett the whole time, and he springs his trap, and it's actually not with... they make them think they have left hyperfuel with the pirates, but actually the fake hyperfuel is real hyperfuel, and Beckett then attacks and steals it along with Chewie. Basically, tells Chewie to holds a gun, takes out every other armed person in the room, and says, takes Chewie and says, "Look, we're going to head back to the ship." It's at this point Han and Drayden Voss begin fighting. Kira betrays Voss. Now, she works for Voss, and it's sort of hinted that maybe there's like a forced romance going on there, but it's never overtly stated. But she kills Voss, and she tells Han that, like, okay, you know, you go get Beckett, and we'll fix this, and we'll go be together. But then she leaves. She just leaves it and says no. She kind of goes, it says, she knows that they'll never be together and they'll never be happy. So she leaves and she contacts, and this is going to be the other thing that cheeses a lot of Star Wars fans off. She contacts the leader of Crimson Dawn, and it's Darth Maul. Yeah, indeed. Okay, so for those of you who wonder how it is, Darth Maul is back. He's just Maul. They just say Maul in the credits, but yeah, I'm just going to call him Darth Maul. And he came back in, I think it was season 2 or 3 of the Star Wars Clone Wars animated series. And yes, that actually is canon. When Disney did their big purge of the Star Wars canon, basically they said this is what is entirely canon. The movies, the animated segment from the Star Wars Holiday Special, there's some other bits from, there actually are a couple other bits from the Holiday Special that are sort of in there, but I don't want to get too far into it. The Clone Wars animated series, the Rebels animated series, and I think the next one that I can't remember the name of. That's just all the canon, you know. None of the other stuff, all that other stuff is vestigial. You don't need to follow it. But yeah, so the Clone Wars is canon, and basically she makes a deal with Darth Maul. But she does sort of cover for Han, saying that Beckett got away with all the hyperfuel and it's missing, and you know, even if Han kills Beckett, which she kind of sees as she leaves, which, yeah, Han kills Beckett. Beckett starts making his speech, Han just goes, psh, and shoots up before he can even get another word out. And basically, he and Chewie, they give the hyperfuel back to the Marauders, who are actually also kind of part of the Rebel Alliance. They hint that they're part of the Rebel Alliance, and I guess you could maybe say that said leader of those people is meant to be Leia. I'm sure there's a lot of people who think it is. It is a woman. The leader is revealed to be a woman, but it's not. She doesn't look at all like Carrie Fisher, so I don't think that's the case. And you know, they offer Han a spot in the Alliance. He said, no, I'm not good at taking orders. I kind of need to do my own thing. And they give him a little bit of the hyperfuel that should be more than enough to procure a ship. And Han goes off and he tracks down Lando, and this is where they play Sabacc. And in the midst of this, he threatens to, as he meets Lando, he threatens to have Chewie rip his arms out of his sockets, but then he sort of tricks him into the hug when you... Like, if you remember Empire Strikes Back, where Han and Lando meet up, there's the little grab, and it sort of tricks him into a hug, and that's what he does in this case, except he steals the cards that were hidden up the sleeve. So, he is able to swindle the Falcon away from Lando, and he and Chewie decide to head to Tatooine to meet up with Jabba the Hutt. And that's how the film ends. So... it's a really fun film. Unfortunately, if you know anything about the making of this, it started out with 2 different directors, Phil Lord and Chris Miller, best known for the Lego Movie and the Jump Street movies, and I'm trying to think what the other one they did. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's just, it's not, it's kind of slipping my mind at the moment. But they do a lot of kind of really action comedy stuff. And I guess their original idea was a little too comedic for what the Star Wars people wanted, and the whole thing had to get scuttled. The guy who plays Han Solo, Aaron Dyke, he's all right. He's got a decent enough look. He's got a couple of the mannerisms, but other than that, he's actually kind of wooden. Ron Howard then had to come in, and unfortunately I think because of that, some of the humor just doesn't quite work with this. It kind of falls... Like, there's some funny moments, but they're not like a lot of really fun, uproarious moments that could have probably happened with... yeah, it could have happened with Lord and Miller directing. Donald Glover as Lando is obviously great. He's really spot on. I mean, there's a few times when he starts talking, he sounds exactly like Billy D. Williams. Hello, what have we got here? What do we have here? Tell me, kid, you think you're the hottest thing in the galaxy? So he's got those mannerisms down. Woody Harrelson as Beckett he's really good on the briefest moments there. Emily Clark as Kira she's all right. She's better than I've seen her in pretty much everything outside of Game of Thrones, so she at least got that right. Tandy Newton is in this briefly as Val, one of the initial smugglers with Beckett, and sort of his romantic interest, but she dies very early on. She's sort of okay. She's kind of the complainer of the group. The voice actress for L3 was also really good. They hint at the fact that L3 is possibly also in love with Lando, though unfortunately they never really follow through on it. Those are some of the funnier, like, she got most of the laughs too, along with Donald Glover as Lando. Like I said, the movie itself is kind of fun. I would actually like to see another Solo prequel. I think there could be some more stories to mine in that. I kind of wish they hadn't ended with him getting the Falcon. I would have liked to see that be its own movie, though. Anyway, I think I'm going to give Solo: A Star Wars Story a B. I can't quite push it up to A, though. Like I said, the humor doesn't quite always work, and it does kind of drag a bit towards the end.
We're in a state of planetary alert.
Every man, woman, and child of your world will die. Earth has been quarantined with some kind of a plague.
My world is dead.
I don't plan on being dead anytime soon.
6 renegade rangers. If they don't find a cure, Earth is history.
Ready, main guns, fire!
Watch Crusade, a special limited series from the creators of Babylon 5, every Wednesday night at 10 on TNT.
I do not want your kind in a blind panic.
Okay, trailer time, and nothing really new to speak of here, unfortunately. I was at the AMC theater again, so yeah, we had the Grinch interstitials. Not as many as there were last time, though, thankfully. Adrift again, then Venom again, then Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom again, Incredibles 2 again, and then Ant-Man and Wasp at the end, which I don't think I've had as a trailer on here. I obviously seen the trailer on YouTube, but I don't think this is the first time I saw it in the theater, I believe. So obviously the next video is going to be the review formerly known as the Justice League. I've got that scripted. I've got the scans for it, but I need to shoot the video and the audio. Today, the last couple days, unfortunately, got really busy, so I wasn't able to shoot my normal schedule. I'll be shooting that stuff tomorrow. Let's see. Don't know if I'm going to do a movie next week. There's not really anything coming out. There's Upgrade, there's Adrift, which you just mentioned, and then there's Action Point, and none of them are really sparking my interest too much. If I do see any of them, it'll probably be Action Point. But, again, that's kind of a maybe. I would put that at a maybe, but probably not. Anyway, see you all next time. Hey guys, is there a movie you want me to tackle? If it's some stinker like Baywatch or the Emoji Movie or something else, check out my Patreon at Sleepy Time for Cat Productions. See how you can make that happen.